You might be thinking, True Stalker is made by App Pro, and they're Muscovites, so CGR is obviously going to shit all over True Stalker. But let's stop for a second, because when I first looked at True Stalker, I saw signs, and I do mean literal signs, that while the development team might be Russian, they might not necessarily be from the Z crowd. You know, the kind of people who put baby in patriotic S.T.A.L.K.E.R for recreation.
Hurrah! Is Papa retarded? See what it feels like it.
I really like this S.T.A.L.K.E.R for baby. And before I go any further, I want to make a disclaimer. This channel is funded by the CIA. You will recognize CIA members in the comments sections through their little patches and their use of cute, little unique emojis. Now, I wouldn't want to shit on someone for something that they don't believe, so let's get it out of the way. I do not know and I do not care what the folks of AP Pro believe. I don't go to their website, I do not engage with them. The point is that True Stalker, spoken language aside, seems respectful to the Ukrainian identity of Chernobyl, Stalker, and GSC, something that is very unusual in Russian sources, but I don't know if this is done with legitimate respect or if it's a deceptive move to hide the developers' true beliefs and appear more official. Which is exactly what we saw with Atomic Heart recently, whose developers managed to convince many that they're a Cypriot studio, and something similar with Gaijin Entertainment, who also masked their Russian roots to dodge sanctions back in 2015 by headquartering in Hungary and opening offices elsewhere, with both using deceptive communications since, while adding winks and nods inside their games that they are true believers of unbreakable Russian spirit and its cause. But AP Pro does not hide that they're a Russian organization. This is only to say that the Muscovite video games industry is deeply invested in deceptive tactics, all in order to dodge consequences from sanctions on Russian companies, or even their own government, because making games, especially with a historical setting, always creates the risk in which you disgrace motherland. So with that said, when it comes to True Stalker, I don't know where the devs stand, and again, I don't care. But the question of deception is very fitting for the conversation around this game. And it's a game, it's not a mod, it's a standalone game. The theme of deception is fitting because it's a common theme throughout gameplay. Within the first hour, you'll notice that betrayal and deceit is going to be recurring throughout the entire experience, and things aren't quite what they appear at first. But what's most impressive about all of this is that you might not expect that this is analogous to the True Stalker experience in and of itself. Is True Stalker truly Stalker? We'll start out with confirming that yes, this does take place within the world of Stalker, the Chernobyl exclusion zone. You'll be fighting dangerous mutants, navigating through deadly anomalies, and getting intense firefights with bandits. The usual. So yeah, it looks like Stalker, it calls itself Stalker, and does a lot of the same things that Stalker does with a healthy amount of original work put into UI design, the glossary, the music. All these are actually pretty good and provide a nice presentation that looks like a very good Stalker game. But when you play it and start seeing its cracks, and realize that big things that make Stalker Stalker are missing. True Stalker comes apart when you notice that there is no A-Life giving agency to the world around you, and even worse, you don't get agency as the player yourself. Everything plays to the script, and your experience is micromanaged by abundant cutscenes that ceaselessly interrupt gameplay. And while the OG Stalker games do have cutscenes, they serve to create breaks in gameplay segments to either mark the beginning or the end of one. But True Stalker doesn't even let gameplay happen. It interrupts itself when it dares to show you something good it'll do in fear that you won't experience it in the correct way. So the player is put on a leash, and by removing A-Life, the zone is put on a leash. And all that remains is a visage, an appearance, deception. True Stalker is missing freedom, and no, not the faction. I actually don't know if they're in the game because I didn't get that far. Because once I realized that nor I or the AI had any freedom to make organic decisions that mattered freely, and we were all playing to the script, I just had to ask, is this even Stalker, or does it just look like Stalker and call itself Stalker? And what lies beneath is a whole lot of presentation with a checklist for you to complete instead of gameplay for you to experience. It's almost like a Ubisoft game. And Ubisoft games these days are just simply not worth my time. And don't get me wrong, true Stalker isn't trash. It's shit. Okay, there's some interesting quests here with good Stalker lore. The level of polish is professional and it does show elements of Stalker. But its ballsy name just doesn't lean toward the truth. This is not a true Stalker experience. So, as I said in my video for Call of Pripyat, Stalker always gives you, in the end, the outcome you deserve. And of the many things that you can find in the zone, one of them is yourself. Your free will struggles with the world's free will because you are on a quest to learn the truth in a world full of mysteries. You seek the truth about the Wish Granter, the truth about S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the truth about the Monolith, Operation Fairway, the labs, the truth about all of the zone's mysteries, and most importantly, the truth about yourself. Stalker is a struggle to find the truth above all else. And there's an old saying that says that only the truth will grant you freedom. And in Stalker, how players choose to use their freedom almost serves as a personality test. Because those who truly understand Stalker see that it is about knowing yourself. Just like the original Roadside Picnic was about individuality and how being free in a dangerous world is better than being safe where you are micromanaged. What in the Soviet days was illustrated as the consequences of straying from the collective, but also the allure of doing so. You can only truly know yourself in complete freedom, and that is what Stalker does. It makes you free.
And I don't give a rat's ass who's working for who.
And true Stalker might be free to download, but in all its stories of deceit, betrayal, lies, and its heavily micromanaged gameplay, there is no freedom, hence it simply cannot call itself Stalker, let alone true. So True Stalker is a poor Stalker game, not because its makers are Russians, I don't care, but because its makers fail to understand that Stalker is about the truth. But when they learn the truth, they will be set free from the deception that calling something a certain thing will make it so. This is not how things work. But I hope that the day that they recognize the truth comes, because they could actually, maybe, make a good Stalker game.